Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and the FPL eye test for GW13. I just finished watching Fulham Wolverhampton, and while I don't have the game listed as a graphic in this video, I'm just going to talk a little bit about it at the start of the video. So the most interesting thing about this game was the fact that we had two new penalty takers step up, because Fulham won a penalty and most people expected Andreas Pereira to take it, but it was actually Willian who took it and scored. And then for Wolverhampton, most people expected Matthias Cunha to be the penalty taker, but Hwang Hee-chan took the penalty, in this game at least. So these were the first penalties for both Fulham and Wolverhampton this season, and that's why we got to see who's the actual penalty taker, I guess. Because the thing with the Hwang Hee-chan penalty is the fact that Hwang won the penalty himself, so maybe it's just the fact that he won the penalty that he wanted to take it himself and score. Maybe it's usually Matthias Cunha who still takes penalties, but for now it seems like Hwang is going to be on penalties, and considering his goal scoring form this season, it makes a lot of sense. Just keep his goal scoring happen really, and give him confidence. Cunha in his own right probably needs some confidence, but at least he scored in this game. He scored a really nice header from a really nice setup from Bellegarde, who's like one of my favorite new players in the Premier League, and like a sneaky good-ish FPL option. I mean, there are so many good midfielders, so maybe Bellegarde is not on the highest priority for you right now. Hwang Hee-chan in his own right, to be fair, as a penalty taker is probably a better asset right now, but Bellegarde is like 4.7 or something, 4.8 I think, and he's just really involved in everything Wolverhampton do offensively, and he's just a really good player, so I just really like the look of him. But yeah, probably wouldn't advise you to get him, bring him in at this point, because Wolverhampton as well are quite shaky, because they ended up losing the game, and again they sort of get hard done by again from two refereeing decisions. The first penalty I think was the really soft penalty. The tackle from Semedo sort of hit the ball and then like slightly touched Kearney. I think he hit more of the ball than he hit Kearney, so I think that was really harsh to give a penalty. And the second penalty, I think on first viewing, I think for the Harry Wilson challenge, or the challenge on Harry Wilson, I thought it looked like a penalty, and it sort of looks like a penalty in replay as well, so I don't really begrudge the referee from overturning his decision, I guess. But I don't know, it just feels like all the refereeing decisions are going against Wolverhampton. At least they got their own penalty this time around, which was a pretty clear penalty. I think that was the clearest penalty out of the three, to be fair. But yeah, penalties were basically the main part of this game. But other than that, the first two goals were really nice goals. Fulham scored pretty early. It was Alex Iwobi who scored from Anthony Robinson's assists. Robinson has looked decent in some regards and pretty poor in other regards. There's just like a huge conundrum when it comes to the fullbacks for Fulham, now that Kenny Tete is coming back, who is supposedly the best right back for Fulham. And I think so as well. I think Kenny Tete is really underrated. But for now, Castagne keeps his place at right back, and Anthony Robinson plays at left back. But Castagne could play left back, and Tete could play right back. They could play the same way they have done now, with Castagne on the right and Anthony Robinson on the left. Or they could play Castagne on the left and Robinson on the right, and Tete on the right. So really hard to choose between those players from the Fulham defense, but maybe you don't want to pick any Fulham defenders anyway. But I think it's just an interesting thing to keep a look at. And then the second goal, the equalizer for Wolves, was the really nice setup from Bellegarde that I mentioned, where Cunha scored the goal. Then we had the three penalty goals. The first the goal for Willian, then the goal for Hwang Hee-chan, and then the final goal for Willian in injury time to seal the win for Fulham, who are, basically just going and getting 3 points where they can get them. And yeah, it seems like they're going to stay up, even though I think they're a pretty poor team still. And I still think it's a team you can target in FPL, but it's just really hard to both predict Fulham and predict Wolverhampton at the moment. So yeah, 3-2. Probably I think Fulham were slightly the better team, but Wolverhampton easily could have had a draw here at least, and they have to feel really hard done by, because every referee decision seems to go against them this season. And yeah, I don't really envy Gary O'Neill and all the refereeing decisions that have gone against them this season. But either way, let's move on to the weekend's games and go to the first game of the game week, which was Man City against Liverpool. Probably the biggest game of any game week so far in terms of actual Premier League. In terms of FPL, it was kind of interesting, but at the same time, it's more sort of like a Haaland versus Salah for captaincy sort of thing. For me, it was kind of interesting because I sold Alvarez and brought Darwin before the game week, because we got the leaks that Alvarez was not starting supposedly. But then Alvarez ended up starting after all, because Grealish had some stomach issue or something, I think. So that's kind of worrying though for Alvarez and his future potential, because it seems like he was going to be dropped for this game if Grealish was back healthy. So yeah, if I had Alvarez currently, I would be kind of worried. I would probably sell him if I still had him. If I hadn't done that transfer of Alvarez to Darwin, I probably would have done either that or something similar to Isak or someone like that, rather than Darwin. But yeah, I think Alvarez is sort of like on the chopping block currently because he hasn't really played that well lately, and he might get dropped pretty soon, especially with all the fixtures that are coming up for City. So I think he's someone that you could potentially sell. But saying that, he was actually in pretty good positions throughout this whole game and had a decent chance to score as well after a really nice setup from Doku. Doku, who was the man of the match, who was just basically running rampant against Trent Alexander-Arnold. And Trent, to be fair, he got the Player of the Match award from Sky Sports, which is kind of strange. But at the same time, he also scored the equalizer, which was really nice. And he also had a really tough task against Doku because no one can stop Doku. When Alexis McAllister was tasked to stop Doku as well, he was also just dribbled past easily. So I think Doku is actually a really interesting option. I think he's a better option than Alvarez currently, but at the same time, with the City getting that blank game week in game week 18, maybe you just want to keep Haaland and that's it basically for the blanking game week 18 and then potentially the double game week in 20, which still hasn't been confirmed yet, which is kind of interesting. But yeah. When it comes to the game, City sort of had control of the game, but Liverpool also had their chances to counterattack and potentially score. Darwin had a couple good chances. He had a header that was saved. If he had headed it a little bit better, it probably would have made a goal, but it was sort of like a decent finish and a decent save. Nothing more, nothing less. Szoboszlai as well had several chances to play Darwin through, but sort of failed at that task a couple times, I feel like. So as a new Darwin owner, I was kind of disappointed with that. But either way, Man City were sort of the leading team in this game and deservedly took the lead 1-0. Haaland scored from a really nice Nathan Ake assist, to be fair, but at the same time, Liverpool were also all over the place because they had just lost possession because Alisson basically got a save and he was trying to start a counterattack and then he just basically shanked the kick and the ball went straight to Man City, and then Liverpool were just completely discombobulated and were all over the place, and Man City took advantage and Haaland scored. Haaland, the finish wasn't actually the best, but at the same time it was good enough to go past Alisson, who had like one of his worst games that I've ever seen him have. He lost the ball pretty early to Foden in a really dangerous position. He was really close to losing the ball again in a really dangerous position. He shanked the kick that led to the goal, where he could have stopped the goal as well. He had a good save against Foden towards the end of the half, where Alvarez actually would have had the assist if that would have gone in. A really good shot from Foden, by the way. But also a really good save from Alisson. But that was basically his own one saving grace this game for Alisson, because he had a really poor game. But Liverpool managed to get the point in the end because Trent Alexander-Arnold scored in the second half. Really nice shot from Arnold. Just a simple pass back from Salah, and Arnold basically takes a really nice touch and just shoots it straight into the goal. Really nice goal from Trent, who is still not an FPL option this season. It's kind of crazy that a year ago or a year and a half ago, before the start of last season, people were saying that he should be 9.0 in terms of price, maybe 8.5. And now he's like 7 million and people are not interested at all. And for good reason, to be honest, because yeah, he hasn't really provided enough points so far this season to justify that kind of price tag. So yeah, but he got the goal in this one, got 8 points, I think, in the end. So he's not the worst differential option going forward if you have the money, but I think you should be saving your money for other people, because I think Salah is still essential. I think Haaland is still pretty much essential. It's going to be kind of controversial. I still think Son is kind of essential as well, but we're going to get to Son pretty soon. But either way, 1-1 in this game. Kind of interesting game in terms of Doku for Man City, I think. Haaland still a fantastic option, of course, because he scores. He's the first or the fastest player to 50 goals in the Premier League. So congratulations to my countryman Haaland. But yeah, we all know Haaland is fantastic. We know Salah is fantastic. He got an assist as well, so only 2 points between Haaland and Salah. Not that much in between them for captaincy. So yeah, fun game. And 1-1, interesting result. Interesting that Liverpool also only had 0.56 expected goals, but I think that number kind of lies a bit as well, because Liverpool had several chances to counterattack and do well, but it never really got to the finish line in terms of actually having an attempt on target. So yeah, it ended up being 1-1. Luton against Crystal Palace next, and Luton actually got their first home win of the season, but it should also be noted that I think Luton are just a lot better at home than away, and that's not saying much because away from home they're absolutely awful, but at least at home they sort of give it a good fight against anyone that they face, and this time they actually managed to get the win. Crystal Palace were sort of unlucky, had some decent chances at the start, as they had a shot that was saved, went back to Elise, who had a second shot at scoring, but didn't go in. But Luton scored some really nice goals, to be fair, both of them. Ogbene, who's also a really nice player, he got the assist for the second one. It was a really nice assist for Brown, who scored the winning goal for Luton. Elise had like a fantastic goal for Crystal Palace. He's fully back now. He's fully fit. And Eze was subbed off early because of an injury. So he seems to be out for like 3 to 4 weeks now. So anyone that brought him in this game week have to feel really hard done by, because he had a really decent chance at the start. He looked pretty good, and then he got injured, sadly. So yeah, really bad times for Eze owners. But at the same time, Olise is actually looking like a decent prospect as well. He's a bit cheaper than Eze as well. So maybe that's something you want to jump onto. But I guess if you just want to stay away from Crystal Palace at the moment, you probably should, because they are not that good currently. Edouard also had a goal disallowed, but it was quite clearly a handball, where he basically he didn't do it on purpose, I think, but he got a really huge advantage from like waving his arm a bit. So that was easily disallowed. And Luton ended up with the win in this game. So yeah, great for Luton. I still don't think they have any really good options. I do have Kabore in my own team. He was out, sadly, with a concussion sort of injury. So also, yeah, I don't really think you can have that many players from Luton, but they are looking slightly better, and they are not that easy to target when they are playing at home. So just got to keep that in mind. Crystal Palace, I think, are just slightly more easy to target. They conceded 3 goals against Everton last time, 2 goals against Luton now. What looked like a really solid defense is now sort of crumbling a little bit. I don't know what that is about, because they still have all their defenders back. But yeah, I don't really know what's happening with them. Maybe they are trying to play a bit more offensively now that they have some better attacking talents. Maybe that's why they're struggling defensively a little bit, but ended up losing this game away. But I think both these teams are sort of like home teams that are really good at home and not so good away. So it sort of makes sense for a lot of teams in the Premier League currently. Actually, a lot of the weaker teams are pretty good at home, but away it doesn't seem like they're that good. But speaking of being good away, we have Bournemouth, who are really turning their season around now, and they beat Sheffield United 3-0. And yes, it's Sheffield United. It's basically playing against the championship team currently, because Sheffield United are definitely going down. They're really struggling and can't really do much at all. But Bournemouth are just looking a lot better and created a lot of chances. Marcus Tavernier is back and scored a brace. He's a really good player who had like a really nice run of fixtures, or like a really nice run of form last season, where he scored like 4 or 5 games in a row, and was really just like a underrated FPL prospect. And as you can see from the non-penalty expected goal moment, 1.41, which is a really high number for Tavernier. His goals were pretty high XG as well. So yeah, Tavernier is looking like a decent option. I think Bournemouth just have a lot of good attacking talents. Solanke is the clear player up front as the striker, but he was pretty unlucky in this game to not get anything. But yeah, Tavernier scored a couple goals, and then Kluivert scored the other goal. Tavernier had a brace, and Kluivert got the second goal of the game, but the third goal for Bournemouth in total. And that was a massive mistake from Fotheringham in the goal for Sheffield United. He basically just lost the ball outside his own box, and then Kluivert could just easily score the goal. So yeah, in general, just a really easy result for Bournemouth. Huge game for them. Like massive, not really a massive win, because they were expected to win the game, but just really nice confirmation that Bournemouth are sort of turning things around when they can just easily beat Sheffield United. That's a good sign for them, and I think they have some really good players. But like I said earlier, with the midfielders, there are just so many good options now that I don't really know if you want to go with someone like Tavernier, for example. But Solanke is still a decent option in front. He probably could have had some goals and stuff. The other striker or forward option from Bournemouth, Semenyo. I always say Caster Semenyo because it's close to Caster Semenya, but Antoine Semenyo is his real name. He actually looked really good in this game as well. Got an assist for the first goal for Tavernier. And he looks really good, and he's only 4.5. So if you're sick of Archer, who is the other 4.5 striker option, then maybe you can go with someone like Semenyo. But I wouldn't really advise on doing like a single transfer Archer to Semenyo like that. It's kind of a waste of a transfer in my opinion. But if you want to downgrade a striker position this week, if you have someone like Alvarez, for example, and you want more money for your midfield, you can go from Alvarez to Semenyo, and then at some other point in a different game week, you can go from Archer to someone more expensive like Joe Pedro, for example, as we'll get to when it comes to Brighton. But let's move on to the next game, and that is Burnley against West Ham. And this was a really poor game in general. West Ham were without both Mikel Antonio and Jared Bowen for this game, and it really showed. West Ham couldn't really create much at all. You can see it's 0.90 XG in total. Really, really, really bad away against Burnley, which is one of the easier games to get a lot of goals and a lot of chances in. So West Ham just looked really, really bad, and Burnley took the lead. They had a penalty shout in the first half, which wasn't given. Then a couple minutes into the second half, they get a penalty, and the penalty stood as well after a VAR check. And I think the penalty decision or shout in the first half was actually closer, or more of a Stonewall penalty than the second one, but I think both could have been given as well. So sort of like two like dubious-ish penalty claims, but like at the same time valid ones, like sort of 50-50 situations. So I think in the end it was kind of fair there was only one penalty and not 0 and not 2. Like I think 1 was sort of the right amount of penalties from those two situations, but probably should have been from the first half penalty. But either way, Garnacho won the penalty, and Burnley scored. Jay Rodriguez stepped up to take it. He's their number 1 penalty taker. And he gave the lead to Burnley, and it looked like West Ham were just going to struggle to create anything. But then Mohamed Kudus, who is going to be the standout player when Bowen is not on the pitch, especially offensively in terms of attacking points and in terms of FPL potential, he had a really nice assist first to what looked to be Divine Mubama, who came on and looked to have scored, but it was actually an own goal, sort of the same that happened with Mubama when he scored his first goal in the Conference League last season. It ended up being an own goal as well. So unlucky for Mubama, but Mubama actually looked like a really good option. He's 4.3 in fantasy, so he's another like really cheap option. So I think Archer is just basically a moot point at this point. Like he's not someone you can you really need to have in your squad at all. But if you have him already, you could just keep him like I'm going to do, because he's just going to be on the bench every week basically. But Mubama, if he gets to play coming up, they have some really good fixtures West Ham, so he could be a sneaky option. But still, I know David Moyes just prefers to use Danny Ings, even though Danny Ings provides absolutely nothing like it did in the first half and the first 15-20 minutes of the second half as well. Once he was subbed off and Mubama came on, West Ham looked a lot better, and Kudus as well just took charge of it, assisted the first goal, which was close to being a Mubama goal, but ended up being an own goal. And then right after that, he crossed a really nice cross to the back post where Souček was free and scored. Souček is also another player who steps up when you're missing the likes of Antonio and Bowen. I think especially with Antonio out, Souček is needed to be one of those presences in the box. So he's going to be more offensive these next few game weeks. And for the price that he is, like 4.8 or 4.9, I think he is, Souček, he's actually a decent option as well. So I think Souček and Kudus are decent options, but at the same time, West Ham creating 0.90 XG against Burnley. Don't really know if I should trust West Ham offensively, and especially defensively. Defensively, you can't really trust West Ham at all. They just concede basically every game. I know Areola is like one of the most popular goalkeepers currently, but he just keeps conceding left and right basically every game. So yeah, as a West Ham fan, I mean, it's pretty easy to know why West Ham are poor defensively this season, when in the past they've been pretty good defensively, and that player is Declan Rice, who has moved from West Ham to Arsenal, and shockingly, West Ham are looking worse defensively, and Arsenal are looking way better defensively with Declan Rice moving from West Ham to Arsenal. So I think that is basically the reason why West Ham are not the best defensively, and probably won't find their form defensively either, because we've given them a lot of weeks now. They've faced a lot of easy opposition now lately as well, but they just can't seem to keep clean sheets. So West Ham defenders, West Ham goalkeepers, you shouldn't buy them at least. I think if I had Areola in goal, I'd probably just stick with him, just because goalkeepers are really worthless. You don't really the second best goalkeeper in FPL right now is Onana, and seeing as how he's produced so far this season in terms of his play, you wouldn't expect that, but that's just the state of the goalkeepers currently. You can't really trust any goalkeeper, so I think I would just stick with Areola if I had him, but at the same time, he's really a disappointing goalkeeper. I'm not looking to bring him in personally, at least. So yeah. But either way, West Ham end up with the 3 points. They're now only 10 points behind the number 1 in the league, Arsenal, West Ham. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out because I'm a West Ham fan. But either way, let's move on to Nottingham Forest against Brighton. And this game was a really interesting game. It went really back and forth. Nottingham Forest took an early lead from a goal from Elanga, who looks really good. Every time he gets the chance to play, he scores. So he looks like a decent option. The cross was from Gibbs White, who looks like an even better option. He looked actually back to his best in this game, I think, Gibbs White. He assisted the first goal, and he had a penalty to score later on in the game, which gave him a goal and assists. Really good from him. And we also have a really good option from Brighton and João Pedro, who actually came on because Ansu Fati got injured, sadly. Ansu Fati has struggled a lot with injuries, and Brighton have struggled a lot with injuries in general. Mitoma didn't play this game either. So finally, with Ansu Fati also being injured, João Pedro got the chance to play, and he returned with 2 goals, a really nice header, from a Pascal Gross cross, and then also a penalty that João Pedro took himself. He is the penalty taker for Brighton, and he scored a couple of penalties so far this season. So he did that again. 2 goals from João Pedro, and he might finally be an option now at like 5.3, I think he is. So you could punt on him, but at the same time, I don't know. Just don't trust really Brighton at the moment or João Pedro's playing time still. But yeah, maybe now if Fati is out, Welbeck is out for a little while, maybe Pedro and Ferguson is going to be like the preferred front two, like I expected before the season at least. I thought Pedro and Ferguson would play most games for Brighton, but currently they've been just like bit part players. But they both scored in this game. Ferguson got the first goal for Brighton as well. Again, an assist from Pascal Gross, and just a really simple, easy finish from Ferguson. Really nice goal from him. Brighton looked a lot better in this game as well. Maybe they're starting to come around a little bit because they hadn't won in a long while before this win. And you could tell that was a huge win for Brighton and De Zerbi, because De Zerbi just went absolutely mad and ran straight to the supporters and just like celebrated like crazy after the game, after they had secured the win. So nice win for Brighton. They did get a man sent off in Lewis Dunk, who got sent off because he complained after a VAR decision. First he got a yellow card and then he got a red card. I don't really know if he got 2 yellows or what happened there, but the ref for some reason just really took offense to what Dunk had said, and he got suspended now for I think 2 games potentially. I don't know. I think I read that he's out for 2 games, which is going to be a huge loss for Brighton, who already conceded a lot of goals. So yeah, I think Brighton are definitely a team you can target in terms of scoring goals, but at the same time, Brighton are most likely going to score as well. They've scored and conceded in every single game, I think, so far this season. So that's going to happen most games. Yeah, let's move on to another like pair of sort of crazy teams that are kind of hard to predict, and that's Newcastle against Chelsea. But to be fair, I think that's sort of like a bad way of discussing Newcastle, because they are pretty easy to predict at home. They're a fantastic team at home, and they haven't really been able to show it that much lately. They had Arsenal at home and actually won that game, but it was sort of like a fluky win-ish. So especially with the goal, which was really controversial, but they keep performing really well at home, and especially Anthony Gordon, who was like the player of the match in this game, had a really nice assist for the Lascelles goal and had a really nice goal himself with a couple of deft touches and a really nice finish. So Gordon looks like a really decent fancy option, and I would just keep him if I had him in FPL currently, especially seeing as they have a couple home games coming up now, because he seems to perform that's really good at home every single game. Away from home, he's been really poor, but at home, he's been fantastic, and the same could sort of be said for Newcastle as well. The other huge thing for Newcastle was that Alexander Isak was back, and he scored the opening goal. Really nice goal where Miley, one of the younger players from Newcastle, who got the chance to play in this game because I think Longstaff was out on injury, he passed it to Isak, who had some really nice touches as well and scored. Really good from Newcastle. And then Chelsea managed to equalize through a Sterling free kick. It was actually a yellow card for Trippier for bringing down Sterling on a counter-attack. And then on the following free kick, Sterling scored. But Trippier in his own right, he's been sort of lucky so far this season. I say that as someone that hasn't had it in the season. But in this game, he was actually pretty unlucky. He had a decent chance of getting an assist on a corner where the ball went to Joe Linton on the back post. And Joe Linton just had a clear open goal and just headed it wide for no reason. But yeah, that was a big chance for Trippier. He also had a free kick that hit the crossbar and out. So Trippier could have had a monster haul from this game, especially seeing as they probably shouldn't have conceded that goal either, because Chelsea couldn't really create much at all, as you can see from expected goals. Pretty bad from Chelsea in general this game. But Newcastle ended up being the deserved winners in the end. They scored 2 goals pretty quickly after each other. The Gordon assist for Lascelles, who scored a goal. It was really nice for him. Anyone that brought him in last week, I almost did, but it was for Chimikas, so I'm not really regretting that either, because Chimikas got 15 points last week. But either way, they scored that goal, and then Thiago Silva, who had an absolute stinker of a game, basically just gave the ball away to Joe Linton, who easily scored. And that was 3-1, and that was basically just the game wrapped up there. And then Gordon scored the 4-1 goal to pad his stats in FPL, get some more points, and punish those that sold him this week, because I know a lot of people sold him, including my co-host at the FPL Scope podcast, Kevin, who sold Gordon to fund a move for Mbuemo. So yeah, sad times for anyone that did something like that. But yeah, Gordon has proven that he's really good at home. So yeah, if you have him still, I think I would just keep him, because he's a really cheap and decent option. So yeah, I think it's someone you could easily keep. Reece James as well, should mention him. He got a red card. He just always finds ways to troll his FPL owners. I know someone like FPL Raptor brought him in and got a -3 pointer for him conceding, or Chelsea conceding 4 goals and Reece James getting 2 yellow cards. Really stupid yellow cards as well. The first one was from complaining or something. I don't know. Gallagher made a tackle and the referee blew the whistle, and Reece James just got a yellow card for no reason. And then the second yellow card, he basically lost the ball, I think, or Chelsea lost the ball, and he tried to win it back and basically just stopped Newcastle's counterattack. And with a yellow card already, that's really stupid. So yeah, really poor from Reece James, but he looked actually pretty good in the game when he played. He had a decent chance, or a decent assist chance. You can see Enzo has the highest non-penalty expected goal moment there for Chelsea. And that's partly because he had a really nice shot. That was a really nice save by Pope as well, but that was an assist from Reece James, who looks pretty good offensively. So once Reece James is back from his 1-game suspension, I think it's still going to be a really good option. They have really good fixtures, so assuming he keeps healthy, I still think he's a decent option, but really bad luck for anyone that brought him in because he got a red card and he's now suspended for next game. So yeah, sad times for Reece James owners and sad times for those that sold Gordon. But if you kept Gordon and you stayed away from Reece James, you're probably happy. So yeah, that was that game. Let's move on to the next one. And that is Brentford against Arsenal. And this was a pretty even game, I would say. But Arsenal were sort of the deserved winners in the end. They were the better team for most of the game. They had a goal disallowed as well, which was just like a really minuscule offside. We get to another minuscule offside decision in the Aston Villa game. But yeah, Trossard was just barely offside after a really poor, again, pretty poor intervention from Flecken. He saved a header from Gabriel Jesus, from a Saka cross as well, by the way. And then Trossard scored the rebound, but it turned out to be offside. Brentford also had some pretty huge chances, mostly down to just Aaron Ramsdale having a really tough time defensively. He was getting chastised the whole game from Brentford fans. They called him like a poor David Raya, who basically left Brentford on pretty bad terms this summer, at least. So yeah, kind of interesting to see the fans use David Raya, who should probably be like pretty disliked by the Brentford fans. They use him as a tool to put down Ramsdale. And to be fair, Ramsdale sort of deserved it because he had a really tough time in the game, but he still managed to keep a clean sheet in the end and have the last laugh. People were really focusing on him after the game, which is kind of interesting because he was not really the main reason Arsenal kept the clean sheet. He probably almost gave away the clean sheet, but yeah, especially early in the game, basically gave the ball away to Mbeumo, who had a major chance to score, but Declan Rice saw the situation happening, went back to his line and cleared it off the line. Really well done from Rice. Like I mentioned in the West Ham section of this video, Declan Rice is just a fantastic player, and that's the type of plays he does, and saves basically clean sheets for his team, or manages to keep a clean sheet for his team. So yeah, Declan Rice is fantastic. He's part of the really good defensive for Arsenal, and anyone with Saliba or Gabriel or Zinchenko or anyone like that should be really happy about having them, because Arsenal defense is really good. David Raya in his own right is going to be a really good pick going forward as well, because now he's done with the team, or the match against Brentford, which is his parent club. He's loaned out for Brentford, so he couldn't play against them, but now he's going to play every single match going forward. Even though Ramsdale got the clean sheet, he didn't really impress at all. So Raya, I think, is going to be the goalkeeper for Arsenal for the foreseeable future, and I think he's probably the best goalkeeper in the game currently at like 4.7. So he's a decent option to go for. But yeah, Mbeumo had a couple of chances. He set up some decent chances as well for Brentford. He just looked pretty good in general, and that bodes well for everyone bringing him in Game Week 14. As we saw, Eberechi Eze got injured. There are some other not so well performing midfielders in FPL currently. Saka, I would say, is probably amongst them, but he did have like decent-ish non-penalty expected goal moment numbers. He did get the assist in the end. He just keeps getting these assists towards the end of the games where he crosses the ball and someone scores. This time it was Kai Havertz. He got a major moment for Arsenal, his first league goal for Arsenal, and was a winning goal as well at the end of the match. So huge 3 points for Arsenal in a tough away match against Brentford. They should be really happy about that. Havertz just seems to be more and more comfortable now, and that's going to be a huge moment for Havertz as well. So maybe Havertz will be a better player at least going forward. Probably not a good FPL option still, but yeah, I think Arsenal in general are sort of just like apart from Saka, I think they're just pretty much just a stay away, because they don't really create that many chances. They don't really look that good offensively at all. Defensively, they look fantastic, but offensively, not so much. And even Saka, I'm having really little doubts about. I do have Saka on my own team, but I've seen people like talk about potentially selling Heung-min Son to buy in Saka, and I think that's crazy, because I think Son is just looking a lot better than Saka currently. It's just the fact that Son keeps blanking and Saka keeps getting these like weird assists. That's the main reason the main reason people are looking to potentially sell Son for Saka. But I think Son, we're going to move to Spurs swiftly, but I think Saka has sort of been lucky. If he didn't get those assists, he would have been definitely one of the most like highly sold players so far this game week. But instead, he's like one of the most bought players now because he just keeps getting these point returns, even in games where he doesn't really look that threatening. But I think Saka is a decent hold. I probably wouldn't buy him personally if I didn't have him. But he's someone you could potentially hold, could potentially sell as well. I think Saka is a really interesting option, or a really interesting case study, I think, for the next few weeks, because yeah, it could go either way, but I think he's just not that explosive of a player. I think Son is more explosive, and we'll get to the Spurs game right now, actually. Spurs, I think, were just the much better side in the first half against Aston Villa. This was actually like a game, before the game, I thought, like, if Son has a poor game, I'm probably looking into selling him potentially, but after the game, I'm actually left with the opinion that I think Son is more essential than he was before the game, because I think Spurs looked pretty good going forward. As you can see from the numbers, 2.35 expected goals. That's really good, and that's not even counting all the offsides, like really close offside calls where they had goals disallowed. Son had three balls. He had 3 shots in the back of the net, and all of them were offside. But it's not that big of a difference between being offside and onside. So I think Son was really unlucky not to score a couple of goals. Anyone that went with him as a differential captain should feel slightly hard done by. But at the same time, if you went with him as a differential captain when Haaland missed like 5 big chances against West Ham earlier this season, I don't really feel that bad for you, because you should have been punished way more back in that game week from Haaland captaincy. But yeah, I think Son was pretty unlucky not to get goals. I think Spurs again were pretty unlucky not to win, and I think, or at least get a draw. I think it's sort of been the way with Spurs. They had a lot of luck at the start of the season. I think they got more points than they should have had against Arsenal and Liverpool and those types of games. But now lately, since they got all the injuries to Van de Ven, Maddison and stuff, they've been sort of unlucky. They have 3 straight losses now. They play Man City away next week. So yeah, I could see why people are sort of getting tired of Son. But at the same time, what he showed in this game with the amount of chances that he almost got, at least, and also the chances that he did get and the potential assists he got. He opened the game by almost getting an assist to Kulusevski, who hit the post or the bar. I can't remember quite exactly, but I think he looked really lively, and Spurs looked really lively as well. I think Spurs are just going to attack going forward, because defensively they are really bad. That was really evident in the Watkins goal. Just really poor defending, and when you play Emerson Royale and Ben Davies as centre backs, you're not in for a good time. So I think Spurs are just going to keep attacking, and I think that bodes really well for Son. Also potentially for Kulusevski and Johnson. I think Kulusevski had a really good game as well. He just probably should have scored. But I think Son is still a really good option, and I would not sell Son if I had him. I do have him in my own team, so I'm probably not going to sell him personally. I think he just looks really good, and I think Spurs are going to score goals going forward, even without Maddison. I think they're going to be fine. It's more defensively. I think Van de Ven is a bigger loss for Spurs this season than Maddison, because I think they can still create chances, but I don't think they can prevent goals against, really, with Van de Ven out. But Maddison being out is also, I mean, those 2 injuries are sort of like a plus and a minus for Pedro Porro, who looked really interesting in this game as well. Really attacking, got the assist for the opening goal for Spurs, which was scored by Lo Celso. Corner from Pedro Porro. Pedro Porro is now on all set pieces, and he's really attacking as well. So I think Pedro Porro is looking like a really good option, because he could get some goals. He could potentially get a clean sheet here and there, but Spurs defensively not the best, like I said. But yeah, Pedro Porro got an assist in this game. He almost had a goal, hit the post, which went out to Son, who scored, and he was slightly offside again. So I think Porro just looks like a really good option in general as well. Really regret selling him and not selling Udogie a couple of weeks back, because Porro just looks like a better option in general. He plays every game, super attacking, he's on all set pieces. So yeah, I think Pedro Porro is a great option. I think Son is still a great option. They do have a really tough fixture against City now, so probably not buy them this week. But after the game against City, I think they have some decent matches to play against West Ham, for example, who they usually score a lot against, and especially now with West Ham being really bad defensively, they can score a lot of goals in that game. So yeah, I think Spurs assets are really good. When it comes to the Aston Villa assets, it's sort of like the opposite, I think. Watkins is still a really good asset. He scored a really nice goal. He also had several other chances to score. He managed to miss like a pretty huge chance after he scored his goal. And right after, he was sort of complaining to the ref, was kind of mad about it, and got a yellow card, which dropped him out of bonus points as well. So really huge swing there. If Watkins would have scored that goal, he would have not complained to the referee. He would have not gotten the yellow card. He would have had another goal. He would have had 3 bonus. So that was a huge swing for anyone that has Watkins, which is quite a lot of you guys. I don't have him personally, so I was pretty happy to see him not score and get a yellow card and only 5 points in the end. But I think Watkins still just consistently looks like a really good option. He's basically the focal point for Aston Villa. He's not on penalties, sadly, anymore for FPL reasons. That's sad. But I think it just looks really good. So I probably would just keep Watkins. I've already had him, but seeing as they have some tough fixtures now coming up, probably wouldn't buy him either. I'm not looking to buy him personally, but I think he's like someone you could just hold for pretty much the entire season, I think, especially if you have a lot of value tied into him. A lot of people had him from the start of the season, but then sadly for those guys, they sold him, especially before that Brighton game where you had that massive haul. But I think Watkins looked really good. And on the other side of the spectrum, the other popular Aston Villa assets, Matty Cash and Moussa Diaby, who I have both of them. They looked really bad in this game, especially Matty Cash just doesn't look like a good option anymore. He played right wing, but it didn't really create much anyway. Got a stupid yellow card, almost got a red card even, so naturally he was subbed off at the half. And then Moussa Diaby was also subbed off at the half for Leon Bailey. And Aston Villa just looked like a much better team after that. Second half, Aston Villa were the better team, I think, and that's why they ended up winning the game. So yeah, I think Villa assets, I think Watkins is a nice hold, but the other Villa assets I'm looking to sell personally as well. Matty Cash and Diaby. It's just time to get rid because they haven't really performed that well the last few game weeks. But yeah. When it comes to Spurs, though, I like their assets and I like Watkins for Aston Villa, but both these teams have some tough fixtures now, so probably stay away from FPL. But I think both teams are still really good offensively, and I think Watkins and Son are like the main men for both teams. So I think they're still really good FPL options. Then finally, the game between Everton and Manchester United ended up being 3-0 for Man United, which was kind of surprising and kind of undeserved as well. Everton got obviously that, what was it, 9-point deduction or 10-point deduction they got from the Premier League for one breach of the transfer rules or whatever, financial fair play rules or whatever they did, one financial breach. And they got the points deduction, and they're back to the same amount of points they had at the start of the season when they were really struggling. And the team sort of looked like the same team that it was at the start of the season as well, where they created a lot of chances, they just couldn't score, conceded some weird goals, some not so expected goals at least from Man United, especially the opening goal. I should probably open with that goal as well, because what a goal from Garnacho, just a fantastic bicycle kick. I'm sure all of you have seen it by now. Cross from Diogo Dalot, who once again got an assist and clean sheet, 12 points for him this game. But yeah, not the best assist for him because the cross was kind of poor, went sort of towards the edge of the box where Alejandro Garnacho basically just did a fantastic bicycle kick. Much better than Rooney's against Man City, in my opinion. And what a way to start the game for Man United. And that sort of set the stage for Man United to win the game. But Everton had a lot of huge chances, especially in the first half. They probably should have scored like once or twice, or potentially even 3 times, but just couldn't find the back of the net. Man United have sort of scraped by some clean sheets this season. Like I said earlier in this video, Onana is the second highest scoring goalkeeper so far in the season, which is crazy. But Man United just keep getting clean sheets now. They have 3 clean sheets in a row. I don't think it will continue that much because they have much tougher fixtures coming up. But yeah, really nice for anyone that has Man United defenders. The last few weeks have just been fantastic. Maguire has played every game. Dalot has played every game and looks pretty good. He's pretty offensively minded as well. Luke Shaw is back. That's going to be a big help for Man United. And they took the chances well. They actually finally sort of did some things right going forward at least. Martial had a huge game as the striker with Højlund out. He got a goal. He always scores against Everton. He also won a penalty, which was kind of, I don't know, sort of 50-50 penalty, I guess. But I think it ended up being the correct decision. I don't know. I can't 100% remember it. But yeah. But what was interesting about the penalty was also the fact that Bruno Fernandes just basically gave the penalty to Rashford. Rashford managed to step up and score. Nice for his confidence. And that's basically what Fernandes said after the game, that he wanted to give Rashford the ball. And he had the confidence that Rashford would score. And he thought that would give Rashford some confidence as well. So really nice leadership qualities from Bruno Fernandes. I think he gets chastised too much for being like a bad captaincy. Or not, I'm not even talking FPL now, but does get like a bad captain. I don't really mind. Like, he is really complaining, and it sort of sets like a bad precedent when they're losing and stuff. But I don't think it's that important. I think how he treats his teammates and stuff is way more important. And by all accounts, all his teammates really respect him and really like him. So I think he's a really really good captain. He's not a good captain's option in FPL, especially when he gives away the penalties like he did to Rashford, but he did at least get an assist in the end where he passed it to Martial, who had a really nice finish to give Man United the win. Really lucky when it comes to clean sheets for Man United. Onana as well, should mention. He had a couple really good saves in this game. Kobe Mino as well, the defensive midfielder, young defensive midfielder for Man United, looked really good. He's going to be a huge boost for them with Casemiro being out. I think Mino looked really good, so maybe that will help Man United defensively as well this season. So yeah, in general, 3-0, kind of flattering result here. Everton sort of look back to their worst ways like they were at the start of the season, but I think Everton will still turn it around and be a good team. It's just really unfortunate events for them with the Garnacho wonder goal to start the game and then missing a lot of chances. But yeah, I think Everton will come back stronger. And I think Man United are actually sort of on the right path. They have gotten really lucky with some of the results lately. Finally, they actually won a game with more than just a 1-goal margin. But yeah, I think Man United are sort of back in it. If you look at the table, it's crazy. They're just like 2 points behind. I don't know. They're just like really close to all the other teams that we expect to be much better than them. So they're actually like having a decent season now all of a sudden, which is crazy. But either way, that was all of the games basically that I've talked about. 10 games from this past game week. Interesting game week in general. It was not the best game week in terms of good fixtures for anyone, basically, with Liverpool and City facing each other, Spurs and Villa facing each other, Arsenal, Man United having away games and stuff. So not the best game week for FPL, but I think next game week is going to be a huge explosive game week. That's usually what happens after international breaks as well. Like the first game week back, sort of like discombobulated, a bit weird. Some players coming back late from international break and stuff, and then the week after, it's a lot better. So I think Game Week 14 is going to be a lot more interesting. It was an interesting game with Game Week 13 to be fair, but I think it's going to be more fruitful, I guess, for FPL managers. It's going to be a higher scoring game week at least. So looking forward to that. But anyways, that has been it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.